Hi guys, welcome to Redeeming Date Night. I'm so glad you guys are joining us again to keep the sparks of love, passion, and joy alive in your marriage. And today we have with us a special guest, Jennifer Degler. Hi, Jennifer.
Hey, how are you, Maya?
I'm good. Jennifer is a clinical psychologist, and she has a thriving Christian counseling business where she has worked with individuals and couples for many years. She is also a life coach. She's been a speaker. She's written books. And she is just a huge blessing to marriages and is actually really passionate about keeping the sex sizzling and the excitement and passion in that realm going, especially in particular for wives. So, Jennifer, we are excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here. I am passionate about passion. So it's fun to get to talk about that with you and talk to your audience.
Well, thank you. I love your joy around it. It's like, it can be such an intimidating conversation and topic, and yet it's just this amazing gift that God's given us at the same time. So I love that you come at it with joy and with passion in order to just build these loving, unified marriages that honor God. So we're excited.
Yes. Yeah, I'm excited too.
Good.
A little knowledge goes a long way in the area of sex. So I love to help couples just understand, how do you make your marriage sizzle in a way that honors God, but also allows for, a lifetime of passionate intimacy.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to dive more in. I first want to ask you a question. I ask my speakers this, is that we are all about redeeming date nights, and I know you are too, and you also have some amazing ideas you're going to give us later. But I want to ask you personally, what does date night look for you and your husband? What does it look like? Do you guys have a regular thing, like weekly, monthly? Is there anything special you want to share with us about your date nights, and anything you want to give us? Go for it.
Well, here's the thing about date night. It changes depending on what season of marriage you're in. And we're in the empty nest now. So we don't have to get a babysitter. We don't have to worry about money so much anymore. And so for us now, it's not so much about like a traditional date night, like, well, we're going to go out to a movie and we're going to go out to dinner. We're able to do things like, we're going to take a day off of work and we're going to go for a hike, or we're going to go kayaking. And that for us, getting outside is, because that's really what a date is about. It's about connecting and enjoying one another. So for us, we're a lot more likely now and able to kind of date during the day than date at night. And when our kids were younger, here's how we did date night. We were like, okay, we only have a certain amount of money. And what do we need to do to really invest in our marriage? And we're like, okay, we can either do a traditional date night where we get a babysitter and we go out to dinner, or we could have a lady come clean our house every 2 weeks. And so we decided to take our date night money, and because a housekeeper was cheaper than a divorce attorney. So that's what we used our date night money for. But then we agreed, okay, we've got to make sure, though, that at home we're doing the equivalent of a date night. And so we would, particularly on Sundays, because Sundays were a no screen day at our house. Nobody could look at screens. Okay. And that way the house was quieter. Well, then Sunday night we would put our kids to bed, and then we would get the food just for us, and we would have a special show we wanted to watch. We would actually sit in front of the TV with our food, which is normally we don't eat in front of the TV. And we would have a little date, and then we would eat, and it was so fun because it was kind of getting away with something that the kids didn't know about. Yeah. That we were getting to look at screens on Sundays. Yeah. And it was our special time. And then afterwards, we always made sure when the show was over, we would stop and we would talk. And usually we would talk about the show. Mm-hmm. And then that would just sort of lead into just talking. And then we would always really try and have sex too.
Yeah.
So that was for us. And we would do traditional date nights.
Yeah.
I think it's important for couples to figure out, okay, what this money that you have for this, how is that best invested in your relationship? And then what can you do if there's not money left after that, for the traditional date? What can you do to make sure you're having time for the two of you to connect and enjoy one another with your clothes on? Because to me, that's the definition of a date. You're enjoying one another and having fun with your clothes on.
I love it. And then I love that you said too, like, you knew that Sunday night it was going to be like, we're having this time, and then you're having sex at the end.
Yeah.
So that was just like routine and regular, and everybody could know what's coming and not have all these like unmet expectations or, it just kind of, I think some people are afraid to establish like, this is the day and we're going to have sex.
Oh, but Maya, planned sex is great. And is anything in your life totally spontaneous? No, we live very scheduled lives. And here's what was so great about Sunday night sex is we usually would get a nap on Sunday afternoon. So here's the thing, for a woman, your testosterone level is dropping throughout the day. And so it's highest upon awakening. So if you wait until late at night to have sex, that's going to be the least pleasurable sex of your day because your testosterone level, it has dropped so low. But if you take a nap, you've raised your testosterone level back up. You've energized yourself. Then you're not so tired, when it's 10 or 11 o'clock. And so realizing, okay, this works for us in so many ways because it's Sunday. And that's at least here in the South, that's what you do on Sundays. You take a nap.
Yeah. I live in Tennessee too. We're like Sabbath naps.
Yes. We call it the Baptist hour.
That's funny. So can you, because you talk about this regularly with couples, you talk about sex, you talk about everything around it. Can you speak to that just a little bit more to people who maybe feel like, just that's weird, planning sex? Like, can you talk about, like, if a couple came to you right now, just pretend like somebody watching, because I'm sure there is a bunch of people watching who are thinking like, should we do that? Can we do that? How's my husband going to feel about that? How's my wife going to feel about that? Can you speak to, more to the benefits of planning it and what you would say to a couple in that moment?
So I would tell them, first of all, just to let go of the idea that sex has to be spontaneous for it to be erotic and for it to be fun. Okay. Because that's a myth. Maybe that worked when you were initially, married the first few months of marriage, but over time, we have to work with the lives that we have. We have to work with the bodies that we have. And sometimes we're working around the children that we have and to make it happen. And so to think about, well, in our schedule, when does it really work best? Because there may be 1 or 2 nights out of your week where you're both just exhausted. And so if okay, we're not going to have sex. We're not going to expect that we're going to have sex on these days, but we're going to save some energy for Wednesday night. Or, hey, on Thursdays, we are going to arrange to meet at home for lunch and have a nooner. Or Saturday morning, we're going to let the kids watch cartoons and we're going to have sex before we get out of bed. And knowing that can take a lot of the pressure off the relationship, because otherwise it can, for the person with the higher desire level, and in almost all marriages, there's one person has the higher desire level.
Right.
In about 80% of marriages, that's the husband. But in about 20% of marriages, it's the wife with the higher desire level. And so that person with the higher desire level can start to feel like, gosh, I got to keep asking and pushing and pushing and pushing for sex, because if I don't, it'll never happen. And then that person with the lower desire level feels like, whoa, we're always just, and then that decreases their desire because of that pressure that other person is putting. But if that person knows, we're going to have sex Saturday morning. Then they know I don't have to push for this on Friday because I know this is going to happen on Saturday. Now, that's not to say you wouldn't still have spontaneous sex. I hope that you do still have spontaneous sex, but it can really help, particularly when there's a pretty wide discrepancy in desire level. It can help to have 1 or 2 times a week that are scheduled, so that one person doesn't have to just constantly be asking for sex and the other person doesn't feel too pressured.
Yeah. And you just made me think of this song. My older brother, he had introduced me to this song when I was first married and years ago, and it was called Business Time, I think. And it was talking about like
what are those guys? Is it the Birds? Something I know who you're talking about. They're British guys.
Yeah, and it was like about Wednesday night.
Business time.
Yeah. It's all about Wednesday night planned sex, and it was hysterical. Everybody watching should look it up. Business Time.
Yes. Yeah.
So funny. But what it did, it like lightened the whole idea. Because for me, I was like, planned sex? Like I was that person, and I was like, I'm, free spirited and all this. And then it made it fun. It made it like, okay, you can actually plan it and look forward to it and anticipate it and like enter in easier with joy almost, because you're like, and with passion and because it's like when you're planning a vacation or you're planning anything you're excited about in the future, like an event, you're thinking about it and you're getting ready and preparing, and you're invested in it more.
Right.
Yeah, it shifted it. Yeah.
Yes. And for most women, after they've been married, the research says 6 to 30 months after you get married, a woman's desire level will transition from that more aggressive, who I want to have sex type of desire, to a receptive type of desire, which means women really don't think about sex. And most women think about sex maybe once a week, which is really how often a lot of couples have sex.
Yeah.
Once that lower desire person is kind of setting the pace. So we're in neutral. Wives tend to be in neutral sexually. So we need something to shift us into drive. So knowing, okay, this is our Wednesday night business time.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking about it. So you're priming the pump. Again, we've got to work with what we've got and the natural changes that happen, particularly for women, because we only have 1/10 of the testosterone that men do. So that testosterone puts you into drive. And when we don't have as much, estrogen kind of puts you into receptive, like, oh, okay, we could have sex. But for a lot of women, they don't even feel a desire for sex until they are actually having sex. Like they're taking their clothes off, they're kissing their husband. They really, if somebody knocked on the door, they'd be okay if it stopped, because they don't feel that desire yet. Then once their body catches up, then they're like, oh, that's right, I do like this. This is fun. I forgot about this.
Yeah.
But if you've been thinking throughout your day, okay, this is going to be fun, or I'm going to try this. That's why we offer the Dare of the Month for women, to get them to start thinking about initiating a sexual encounter. It gets their mind shifting out of neutral and into drive.
Yeah. Okay, so now I want you to talk about that, because you shared with me just before we jumped on about something you have called a deck of dares.
Yes.
And I would like for you to share with the wives about what the deck of dares is.
Okay. Well, first, let me tell you what's free. So we've been since 2010 at jenniferdegler.com. You can sign up for the free Dare of the Month newsletter, and we will email you once a month a newsletter, and it has in there a dare to help you initiate a creative sexual encounter with your husband. It's nothing nasty. He might like nasty, but we don't do nasty. It's just something cute. And usually you've got the supplies right there in your house. And in the process of planning, okay, I need to get this and I need to get this, and then this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to surprise him this way. You're priming your pump as a woman and getting yourself excited. And when I first started planning these in 2010,
you said supplies. Can I pause you for a second?
Yes.
You said supplies.
Yes. Okay. All right. So let me. You want to know what the very first dare was?
Yes. Tell us.
Okay. The very first dare was back in July 2010. So it's July. So I'm thinking, all right, I want to do something patriotic, 4th of July. And so the dare was you would take 3 of those peel and stick flag stamps, like the flag stamps, and you would hide them on your body. And I suggested you put one on the back of your neck, one on the bottom of your foot, and one in a more intimate place. Okay. But remember, they're really sticky.
Yeah.
You're going to have to peel this thing off.
Okay.
And then you would tell your husband, okay, you have to close your eyes, or you could blindfold him. Okay. And then you tell him, you can have sex with me after you find all 3 stamps, but you can only use your hands to find the stamps.
That is so fun.
It's so fun. And here's the thing. Those little suckers are hard to find. They feel like skin. And so what happens is you get this amazing full body massage, and he will not think to look on the bottom of your foot. So and women need more foreplay. So in the process, it's working for you. You all are laughing. Laughing produces more oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone in our head. So we're laughing, we're having a good time, we're having more foreplay, we're having fun. And all of a sudden, the sex is so much better because of that. And who doesn't have 3 flag stamps? Or you could use stickers.
Yeah.
But so just things like that. And then it's fun. You create a fun little memory. And, when I was first coming up with these, I would try them out in advance on my husband, and I'd say, well, what, did you like that one? And he'd go, oh yeah, I like that. I'd say, well, how about, did you like that one? Should I do that one? Yeah, that's a good one. You should do that. Finally, I realized I could say, okay, the dare of the month, this month, is we're going to dump a can of creamed corn on our head, and then we're going to have sex. And he'd be like, oh, that's good. Yeah, I like that. As long as the last words out of my mouth were, then we're going to have sex. He'd be like, that sounds good to me.
Fabulous. Yeah.
So you know what? The dares are not so much for him. They're for you as a wife to help you get out of neutral and into drive, so that you can help make your marriage sizzle. So that's a free resource that we'll email you once a month. And if you sign up, you get 3 free dares. And then we also took the first 40 dares and turned them into the deck of dares. So this is something we sell on our website. You can either get the actual printed product, or you can get it as a PDF download and just have it on your phone wherever you go. Be looking for your little dares that you can do.
I love it. And I love how intentional you are about that. It's for the wives, because like you said, 80% of the time it's the husband that has the more natural drive that's going and ready all the time. 20% it's the wives, but that you're purposefully supporting the wives to transition. And Mother's Day is around the corner, guys. So I'm just saying.
Yes.
Right?
Or Father's Day. We're coming out with the his and hers deck of dares. That maybe will be out in time for Father's Day. It should be out definitely by July. Where 20 of those dares will be for him to do to initiate something romantic or sexual, and then the 20 dares for her to initiate.
I love that. Yeah.
But, to be intentional about, we want to just acknowledge, that we just need some help in this area.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because that's the way the majority of marriages work, is that lower desire partner just needs some help.
Yeah, definitely. And even any marriage that's got all these, every marriage has all these equations and factors and circumstances and, just things that pop up, seasons where it's like, for whatever reason, sex becomes one of the first things off everybody's radar, you know, or, well, especially the person that doesn't have the high drive. It's like, okay, we don't, you know,
Exactly.
it's off. Instead of, this is super non-negotiable because it was given to us as a gift to build unity in the marriage.
Yes.
And, you know, of course the enemy wants us not having sex, right? Like, he does
Right.
not want marriages having sex. He does not want husbands and wives laughing and having bonding chemicals go off in the brain. And, you know, I love it. So you guys, that is actually going to be the free gift for today from Jennifer. So if you click the button below, you can sign up for the newsletter. You'll get the 3 dares initially for free. So make sure you click below and sign up for that. And I wanted to ask you about, you and your husband also do a date night live. Is that right? So, okay. So can you tell everybody about that? Because I think this is really fun. And I always like to give everybody watching ideas of, like, you know, when this summit's over, when this series is over, you can plug into something like what you're going to say and keep doing like these kind of date nights where it's giving you ideas. And so tell us about it.
Oh, good. Well, this is something. So my husband, Jeff, is not a mental health professional, but he's a smart guy. He's just a smart, wise person. And so one of the things we do that's so fun is once a month on Facebook Live, we do date night with the Deglers, and people can email us or message us through Facebook or message us through Instagram. They can send us parenting, marriage, and sex questions, and we will answer them live on Date Night with the Deglers. And we give away prizes. It's usually about an hour long, 45 minutes to an hour long.
Okay.
We give away prizes to live viewers, so that's fun. We also ask people, we'll ask the question, and then we'll read sometimes people's responses. Our audience members have great answers and helpful things as well to help with those questions. So if you've got a question, you're like, I want to know what a psychologist would say about this.
Yeah.
That's an opportunity. We can't answer every question, but we try to answer as many as we can. And then sometimes the other ones, I will answer them maybe through a podcast, or I'll answer them through a video post, answer them on Instagram, and try and just give people tools and helpful things. And it's really fun. We laugh a lot. So we have a lot of couples that watch. They make a date night out of it.
Yeah.
So they sit on, like they could do with this, Maya. You know, you said this, like you're a couch potato date, and they watch together, and then it gets them talking, gets them thinking about their relationship, their sex life, possibly if they have kids, possibly their parenting, and it's a fun, and it's free. That's a free thing.
Yeah, totally.
So it's usually either on a Thursday night or a Monday night.
Okay.
And if they go to Dr. Jennifer Degler and See Wives on Facebook, there's the archive. They can go back in the video archive and see. Always put in the post what the questions are that we're going to address. And let's go back and watch old ones. And you get to see my hunk of burning love.
Yeah.
Yes. My man.
I love it. So, make sure you guys check that out, because that is a great way to continue the couch potato date night and to keep those sparks of love, passion, and joy alive.
Yes.
And, I wanted to ask you to, and we have a few more minutes, so I want to keep asking you some questions here. I know since you are a clinical psychologist that you work with people on a level of spirituality, you work with people in their relationships, you work with people on an emotional level, and you also counsel people in sex. So can you talk about how just how they all work together, and can you just give us some nuggets of like what more of like the brain stuff you talked about, like the brain and what's going on in the brain, and how each part in a marriage is very important for people to be showing up emotionally and spiritually and relationally and sexually, and just how they all kind of function together. Can you talk about that for a little bit?
Well, and I appreciate how you've beautifully described holistic, that we tend to want to just divide off and say, my body is over here and my mind's over here, my spirit's over here. But we were created out of the Trinity, which is a community, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. And so we're a Trinity too, of mind, body, and spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And as a marriage, you've got two people coming together who are very different, with different bodies, with different minds, with different spirits, trying to figure out how can we successfully be married for 60 or 70 years.
Mm-hmm.
How can we do that? And monitoring your own personal health. So many times when we're married, we get really frustrated with how that person we're married to, their differences from us. And we're like, you need to start working out, or you need to go to church more, or I wish you would be in that accountability group, or you need to start. And we tend to focus our energy on that other person, and we also tend to focus a lot of blame on that other person. If they would just do this, then everything would be okay and I'd be okay. When in fact, what works a lot better long term is if we really take our finger down from pointing at our spouse and we look at ourselves and say, okay, holistically, how am I doing? Am I taking care of my body, of my temple? Am I taking care of my spirit, myself emotionally, myself spiritually? Do I have work that I need to do, rather than looking at my spouse and thinking they just need to get their act together and then I'll be okay? Yeah. And that's a lot when a couple shows up on my couch in my counseling office, there's a lot of finger pointing. There's a lot of energy, negative energy, going towards that other person and blaming them for the struggles in the relationship. And the couples who do the best, the couples who are able to restore their marriage, it's because they stop looking at that other person and picking them apart to where they're not, there's something wrong, you're not doing this. And they begin to look at themselves and own themselves. And what do I need to take responsibility for? Mind, body, and soul, my whole self. And it's amazing how when couples do that, they're able to get a bigger picture of what marriage is about, what God created marriage for, and that the two of them together can really accurately and more fully reflect who God is to the world. The male, the female, that whole dynamic, the masculine, the feminine, the nurturer, the warrior, the protector, all the aspects of God can really be beautifully reflected when a couple will own for themselves the work that they need to do, not point the finger.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up. It's, I was thinking when you were talking too about the point the finger part, that it actually really coincides with like your deck of dares and how you in particular are wanting to encourage women and wives to be, to really essentially, like with the deck of dares, it's like not pointing the finger, to saying, here's the tools to take off the pressure, but also the resource to go stop looking at what's not. Often, women will use excuses of why we're not having sex or why whatever to say, oh, it's because you're not doing this and you're not that, and you're not.
Exactly.
How are you showing up for me in this way? Right. Needs. And the deck really does that, is that tool actually to help stop pointing the finger and go, okay, how can I show up? And stop looking at what's not happening and start stepping into what can I make happen,
Yeah. And Maya, that's such a good point that you bring up, because it turns into scorekeeping.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, you're not doing this for me, so I'm not going to do this for you.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that we'll withhold in the bedroom because we're like, well, why would I want to have sex with you because you didn't empty the dishwasher like you said you were going to do?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you'll help out more around the house, then I'll have sex with you. But until you show me more affection or you, whatever it might be, I'm not going to show up in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And we get into that again, pointing the finger at the other person versus saying, sex is for me too, and it's for us.
Yeah.
And who do I want to be in this marriage? That's one of the questions that I will continually ask of couples. I will look them individually and say, who do you want to be in this marriage, regardless of who your spouse is? And like with your date nights that you're doing, Maya, sometimes spouses will be like, well, why should I go to all the trouble of planning this date night because he's not doing that? He should do it, or well, she should do it. And instead say, who do I want? Do I want to be an initiator? Do I want to be somebody that's fun in a marriage? Then be it. Regardless of what your spouse chooses to be, you choose who you want to be in this marriage. And so maybe you're the one, yes, that you are more fun and you plan more fun dates. Well, good for you. You embrace that, you be that, rather than say, I'm not going to be that because they're not going to be that.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. It's like there's resources too to take the pressure off and to not have to feel the burden of it. Like that's part of my heart in making the date nights is like, I want to be a resource and take that burden off, especially for people that are spouses that are feeling pressure in their marriage or even just a desire, not even pressure, but that I want to have these authentic, connected, like powerfully intimate dates, but I just don't even know where to start. And all we're doing is pointing fingers. And so it kind of just like takes all that off the table because it's like your dares. It's like this objective view, this other person stepping in saying, here's the questions to ask, and here's the fun game to play, and here's the dare. And, so it's, there is options too. It doesn't always have to be like, there's just not so much pressure, when you realize like there are people out here that are providing resources like you and like myself and like many of the speakers on here have had amazing tools and ideas. And even sex, it's like we don't have to step into that pressure and that finger pointing. We get to be who we want to be, and if we don't know how to be it, then God will help us find a way and give us the resources.
And it's about being teachable and being willing to access resources. And so, I have read so many books on marriage, and I would have read them even if I wasn't a psychologist, because you're not born knowing how to be married. You're not born just knowing how to date. You're not born knowing how to have sex. So to say, I want to be teachable, of course I don't know how to do this. And this may, whenever you learn anything new, it can feel awkward. And so Maya, for couples that maybe this is the first month that they're going to do one of your redeeming date nights, and they may feel like, oh, but that's just going to feel so weird. Well, sure it is. It's the first time you've done it. The first time you rode a bike, it was weird. And eventually you're like, this is good. I see the benefit in this. It's the same way with doing the dares. A lot of women are like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. And I always like, you know what? Ask your husband to encourage you. And usually they're willing to get their pom-poms out and wave them around and say, you go. And so if couples are just beginning to start this idea of a creative date night, then for them to say, okay, let's encourage one another in this. What do we need to do? How do I need to show up for you so that this is the best date night it can be? And then be teachable. Just try things out. You're going to try a dare, and it's going to be something that they just end up dissolving in laughter and are like, oh my gosh, this is not us. But hopefully they're still going to have sex. And then it's the same, Jeff and I, we have tried some date ideas that that was not us. But the main thing is we're exploring things. We're trying things together. And some of your best memories, I've been married now, 32, 33 years, long time. And some of our best memories now are the things that didn't work out. Those are the best stories. Remember when we
Yeah.
went on that place to eat and this happened and it just was like, oh my gosh, this
Yeah.
thing. And now it's funny. It's part of your
Yeah.
story, the story that Jesus is writing about your
Yeah.
marriage and about the two of you, but just being teachable and accessing those resources.
Being teachable. I love it. That is a great way to end this interview about sex and intimacy and all this stuff, is just to be teachable. Yeah.
Yes.
And willing and teachable. Yeah.
Yes. The big, I really do think that is the secret to success in life and success in relationships. It's not that you know everything, it's that you're willing to be taught.
Yeah.
And it requires humility and to say, I need to read a book, or I need some help in the area of sex, or maybe I even need to go see a counselor. But that teachableness to help us.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, for being with us today. You've been amazing.
Oh, this is so fun, Maya. I'm so glad that Pam Farrell hooked us up and connected.
Yeah, another one of our amazing speakers on here. And
Yeah.
so just to recap for anybody listening, that Jennifer Degler, they do date nights with the Deglers live on Facebook once a week, and
once a month.
I'm sorry, once a month.
Once a month.
Then you can click below to get their free resource for the deck of dares. There's going to be 3 dares coming your way when you sign up for that. And also just check out our website. And if you all need any support with life coaching or in your marriage coaching, then reach out to her, and she would be an amazing, beautiful, wise resource. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for being with us. And I'm really grateful. And I learned some things today too. So
good. Thank you. This was fun, Maya.
Good. Thank you guys for being with us today on Redeeming Date Night. And we will see you again tomorrow with another amazing speaker coming your way to keep the sparks of love, passion, and joy alive in your marriage. All right. Good night, guys.